Oh, snap. Welcome back to the Mystery Project. YouTube, hit the thumbs up button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We got some Karen Reed action. This is Court TV talking about the timeline of John O'Keefe and Karen Reed in the retrial. So let's check it out. I'm already shrunk down and let's go. Let's jump right into it. Plus, we're live on TikTok, so shout out to TikTok. Let's go.
I'm Vinnie Politan. This is Vinnie Politan Investigates. We are live in Dedham, Massachusetts with the most in-depth coverage of the retrial of the century anywhere on television. We've got a live studio audience tonight. At the end of this hour, we will hear their comments, their questions. They may put me on the spot. We don't know what they're going to say, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, the subject of our investigation is the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe and the prosecution timeline. We're going to take a much closer look at that.
Oh, hail. Luke Bryan. That's my cousin.
Here's the story.
The death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe on a snowy January night in Canton ignited a firestorm of controversy. Much of it centered around a cracked tail light. Prosecutors allege that Karen Reed, O'Keefe's girlfriend, struck him with her SUV and left him to die in the front yard of 34 Fairview Road in Canton. They point to the broken tail light as crucial evidence, claiming it matches injuries on O'Keefe's body and glass fragments found at the scene. But Reed's defense argues the tail light was broken after the fact, when Karen Reed backed her SUV into John O'Keefe's car. Supporters of Reed have rallied behind her.
What do y'all think? What do you think? Envy, thank you.
Insisting the tail light is a red herring in a broader cover-up, with dueling experts, impassioned crowds, and mounting suspicion on both sides. The broken taillight has become more than just a piece of shattered plastic. It's the symbol of a case cracking open at the seams.
Whoa.
And another part of this case is the timeline. And I think in this retrial, the timeline is going to be a much more prominent part of the case and the arguments at the end when the attorneys have their final opportunities to address the jury. I want to focus on the prosecution timeline. They have the burden of proof. They've got to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this retrial, take a look. The triggering event, the collision, John O'Keefe getting struck. Our understanding at this point is that the collision, according to the Aperture report, which came up during some cross-examination, was at 12:31:38 a.m. The arrival of Karen Reed from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows, which is John O'Keefe's home, where she went after John O'Keefe got out of the car, is at 12:36:39 is when she connects to the Wi-Fi. So if you look at the time of the collision, then the time that she connects to the Wi-Fi, and you do a little bit of math, it's about 5 minutes and 1 second. Which brings us to the first question in our investigation. Was there enough time to get from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows? Now, let me bring in our guests who are going to help us through all of this. I am joined by attorney, former prosecutor, Catherine Loftus is with us. Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, trial attorney Wayne Dennison, you recognize him from the Johnny Depp case, and John DePietro, host and creator of Road Patrol Live, and he's turning into my partner in crime now all of a sudden. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas also with us. What I want to do is Cody and I, one night after the show here, took a ride just to see how long it takes, just following whatever the shortest route is according to the computer to get from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows. Take a look. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to drive from 34 Fairview to John O'Keefe's home, and we're going to time it to see how it goes. So let's hit start, and we're off. So we're going to see what the timing is to go from 34 Fairview to John O'Keefe's home, because the timeline in this case is huge. It's a big part of the story. You know, was there enough time? We know when she got back to John O'Keefe's house because she connects to the Wi-Fi. So
Yeah.
is
I don't know if they're factoring the fact that it was snowing, but
there enough
I
time
think they're trying to get like an
from
estimation.
when they allege the impact happened to when they actually arrive at John O'Keefe's? Is there enough time in between for all of those things to take place?
Oh, a little echo in the audio there.
Okay, we're about a minute and a half in, and it says we have about 4 minutes to go to get there. So let's see how that goes. The speed limit here is 30 miles per hour. That night, there's no one else on the road. Is she driving faster? Is she driving slower because of the snow? I mean, those are important questions. But if you're going normal speed like we are, we shall say we're now down to 1.7 miles as we make a turn. We're at 3 minutes. We're going the speed limit, and we have about 2 minutes to go, 1.2 miles away. What's good is that there really aren't any other cars on the road. We've run into one so far, but it's 30 miles per hour. All right, at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, we hit a red light. Did she hit any red lights that night? That's a big deal. And if she hit him, did she wait for him? All right, we're going back through. We're at 4 minutes now. We are now at 5 minutes, and it looks like we are 0.4 miles away, almost there. And the road is a little darker, I think, than it actually appears on the video. I think the video is making things just a little bit brighter than they are. But here we go. Another light that we need to make a right. And once we turn on this street, then I believe we are basically there.
Nope, it's a no turn on red.
No turn on red, so we'll wait. We're 5.5 minutes, 0.2 away.
It said no turn on red. We're
Pleasant
gonna
Street.
wait. Vinnie Politan just runs the red light. Man, let's go.
Right now. And it should be coming up, I believe, on the right. Meadows Drive will be the first one on the corner. We are 0.1 miles. And here it comes.
They're at like 6 minutes.
This is it, right here. Is that it?
One more.
One more.
Yep.
400 more feet. We hit 6 miles. Yeah, this is it right here. We're at 6 minutes and 10 seconds, and we have made it. Just drive past. 6 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh, hell.
So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. All right. Obviously, I wasn't driving. Cody was driving, so I want to ask Cody a couple questions about driving. So, Cody, as you're driving, do you felt like you could go faster?
I did feel like I can go faster, but the thing we have to consider, Vinny, we mentioned some of it on that drive, these three factors that kind of correlate to each other. Weather, visibility, there's a snowstorm happening. That relates to the speed limit. Are you going faster? Are you going slower? But the speed limit could also correlate with your intoxication level. You know, we got there in 6 minutes and 15 seconds, but according to that report, that was 5 minutes and 1 second. So speed limit was 30 miles an hour. She could have been going 40. She could have been going 50.
But did you feel like when you're driving that road, like there's no one else there that you could have, you know, handled?
Absolutely. I could have pushed it up a notch, but, you know, we wanted to be safe.
Yeah, we followed the speed limits. All right, let's bring back in our...
We wanted to be safe. We followed the speed limit.
I guess, so how much of a...
By the way, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here, and come on over to YouTube if you want to watch the video. We're live there right now, but it's the Mystery Project on YouTube. The Mystery Project on YouTube. So come on over, subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you guys over there. YouTube, hit the thumbs up button for me too.
Problem is this timeline adding up?
You know, I think it's one of those things that, like with many things in this case, it sort of depends, right? Because you take all these factors into consideration. You take into the weather, you take into the level of intoxication, you take in what kind of driver, quite frankly, Karen Reed is. Do we know how fast she was going? Do we know how she typically drives? I know Pat Loftus back there would get there probably in 3.5 minutes, but does that mean that every person who's driving can do that? So theoretically, does the timeline allow for it? Certainly. Is it close? Absolutely. But does it mean it can't be done? No.
Here's the other thing. She has never been to that house before, and neither had John. They didn't know where 34 Fairview was, so she had been drinking. The road conditions are getting worse. There's not as much snow at that point in time. It falls really heavy a few hours later. But did she put it in her phone? I'm wondering if that's part of the extraction.
You and Cody aren't the only people who've done this. This is all over social media.
Are you serious?
Serious. It's all over social media, and nobody does it in 5
Hell,
minutes.
is it?
Yeah.
You mean in less than 5 minutes?
In
Less than 5
Well,
minutes?
here's the thing, though. We know that night from the voicemails, that doesn't sound like someone who's going the speed limit. You can imagine late at night, a storm is coming, there's no one on the roads. Based on the voicemails that she's leaving as she's driving, I'm tending to think that Karen Reed was gunning it back to the house, probably going faster than you guys did. With no one on the road, I think she's making it and going probably more 40, maybe 50 miles an hour. Who knows? But
Well, here's the other aspect of that, though. Aren't there a series of phone calls she's making also?
yes.
And messages?
I think the first call she makes is at 12:36. I could be wrong. Somebody will correct me if I am. But I think so. So it's sort of aligns with exactly as she's arriving home.
The call where you hear her heels?
Where you hear, and there's like a beeping sound that almost sounds like it's maybe a key lock or something in the garage. So the voicemails start.
The voicemail,
almost
but are there calls? Because there's a bunch of calls that aren't answered. And I'm wondering if she's making the calls while she's driving. Is that going to make her go faster or slower?
I think faster,
Right.
just because she's obviously angry. When we hear those voicemails, that doesn't, as I said, it doesn't sound like someone who's going the speed limit, even though 10 and 2, as Ryan Nagel said. I think she is really fired up, alcohol fueled. She's, gunning it.
Well, we may find out very shortly, because the new crash experts were also supposed to test the car, and the telemetrics was going to be retested on the SUV. So maybe it's going to be like an Alec Murdoch situation where there's going to be something revealed.
If I'm a juror and, we live, it's 2025, I'm expecting black box like data. And I don't know if it's there telling me exactly how fast she was going.
Because if she's driving, maybe she's using, maybe the phone is connected and that's how she's calling. I don't know. But she doesn't know where she's going, in theory, because she's never been to the house before.
But the bottom line, she's got to be driving faster, but is it incumbent upon prosecutors to actually prove to this jury that she was going faster rather than saying, oh, she was, like, John, I get what you're saying, but that's not evidence, right? Like,
Understood. I'd be
can
curious.
they prove that she's going faster?
Well, that would be as much as we're talking about the accident reconstruction, I also, based on that data, if they have a complete demonstration that shows point A to point B.
Yeah.
Like they can calculate.
If I'm a juror, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I need that. I would expect it.
I'd like the math problem. I would like to know how fast would you have to go to get there in 5 minutes?
Well, Leslie stated multiple times after the jury left today, this case comes down to seconds. Unlike any other case. So they are getting prepared for that.
This is unlike any other case. We've got great guests tonight. We've got a great live studio audience. Coming up next, why did the prosecution change their timeline? We're back live in Dedham, Massachusetts, just down the street from the courthouse where Karen Reed is on trial for the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. That is Hank.
Did they change their timeline? That sounds crazy.
Brennan, he's the
Oh, actually, it didn't work the first time, so we think this actually happened.
prosecutor in the retrial.
Crystal,
He's not a
thanks for the
full-time
chat.
prosecutor. He's a special prosecutor paid just for this case. Now, there was a trial last year, and I want to play part of the opening from the prosecutor from the first case, Adam Lally, because he talks about something very specific when it comes to the timeline.
So there is some data that he's able to recover from that and back the vehicle up based on its known locations and travel. He cycles and essentially opines, he'll opine that around 12:45 in the morning when the vehicle was in front of the residence on Fairview, that for some perceptible period of time, that vehicle travels over 60 feet in reverse at over approximately 24.2 miles per hour.
Okay. When we cover trials at Court TV, when I cover them and our team gets together, a lot of times we try to put together a timeline. So based upon that from Adam Lally, that was our timeline. Like 12:45 seems to be the time that the prosecution is saying that SUV was thrown into reverse, and that's when Karen Reed, according to the prosecution, murders John O'Keefe. And that's what we went with. But you watch the prior segment, right? And it's like, this trial this year, it's at 12:31:38 according to this Aperture report. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation tonight, which is, why did
That's enough reasonable doubt right there.
the prosecution change their timeline? What is going on here? Let's bring back in our guests, Catherine Loftus. We've got Matt Johnson. We've got Wayne Dennison. We've got John DePietro. And we've got Cody Thomas with us as well. Right? I'm not imagining this, am I?
New prosecution, new crash reconstructionist that we've yet to hear from. And then, you know, what they can attest to and testify to, we may learn tomorrow.
Okay.
Remember, this is what's being argued.
I'm a prosecutor. Like, our job is to seek justice. What is justice? The truth.
Justice is the truth. Justice
Right. So why do they have two truths for the timeline?
Well, I think it's difficult.
Oh, hell.
Was it a leap year? Is this a leap year? Or are we, what's going
Time
on
traveling,
here?
I think it's interesting to see the way that Adam Lally presented the case versus Hank Brennan. And, for most of us watching the first trial, it was very confusing between the data, Trooper Paul, the, key cycles, what the time was, the text, and it was not presented in a way that was cohesive, understandable. How it seems to me is that Hank Brennan came into this case and he quite literally took a fine-tooth comb to everything. He went back to the Lexus data, had a new reconstructionist look at it, evaluate it, and based on his interpretation, it seems like wherever the Commonwealth got that subsection of data relative to 1245, that's no longer how Hank Brennan sees the case.
Yeah, John, are you as confused as we are?
That's
with
crazy.
The vacillating timeline?
Yeah.
Like usually the timeline's the timeline. The prosecution, this is what happened, this is the data, and now it's changed this year.
The data has been very confusing, especially you could even get into the Google search of how confusing that was. I think the biggest difference this time around has been the importance of the cell phone. And everybody that's here has a cell phone, and they've really drilled down to the data within John O'Keefe's cell phone, whether it be time or distance or temperature. So it is confusing. Thank God the jury doesn't have to consider what happened in the first trial.
Yeah, but I think we as the public shouldn't we be a little concerned if the facts change from trial to trial?
I think the jury will have to consider what happened in the first trial because you're going to get cross-examination around those issues.
Well, today at the end of court, they were saying that one of the clocks was wrong. So that's how they're coming up with a different timeline.
Wait, who's saying the clock's wrong?
Brennan. He was saying that one of the clocks between the iPhones and the clock in the SUV, one of the clocks is different. So we've yet to hear the explanation for that, but that's what they were talking about.
Oh, hell.
I think too there was and there was a lot of it was complicated again. It was the end of the day of a lot of heavy testimony, but there was a mention from Attorney Brennan that there was a report produced by defense that indicated that John's phone, was either forward 30 seconds or back, and then Attorney Brennan had it reevaluated, and this is the so what's happening here is this volley back and forth about no, the data is this way, no, the data is that way, and as I try to explain to people, at the end of the day, all of this data is being interpreted differently by different experts.
Are you saying it's art, not science, that we're talking about?
Oh, hell. John's iPhone time was off? What? That's crazy. I didn't even think an iPhone could be off. And doesn't it connect to wherever and do it automatically?
Here?
Well, that's one of the weaknesses with the case for the prosecution is just the fact that and it seems inconceivable, they were unable to pinpoint the exact timeline. Hank Brennan seems much more confident this time around.
I'm concerned. And the reason I'm concerned, as I think the expectations of juries these days are much higher, that our digital footprint is our digital footprint. The data is what it is. And we heard that in the opening statement, that the data doesn't have an opinion, the data doesn't have bias, it is what it is. But it's not what it is. It isn't what it was.
But that's ultimately going to be a prosecutorial burden. They have the obligation to make sense of this, and if they can't make sense of it, you've got reasonable doubt.
Right now on this particular issue, I have to quote one of my favorite characters of all time, Vinnie Barbarino. I'm so confused. All right. They're staying with us. When we come back, what are we doing next? Apple Health data. We are live in Dedham, Massachusetts. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We are live in Dedham, Massachusetts with our in-depth coverage of the retrial of the century, the Karen Read murder trial. We have a live studio audience. You'll hear from them in moments with their questions, comments, and very strong opinions about this case. This story is really unlike any I've ever covered before. And the subject of our investigation now, obviously, is the death of John O'Keefe, but also some of the digital evidence and the experts who have testified in this case, trying to prove that Karen Read ran over John O'Keefe and is guilty of murder. Those of you not familiar with the backstory,
who thinks that would actually happen? Who thinks that she's guilty? Put a thumbs up if you think she's guilty.
The death of John O'Keefe, found lying in the snow outside 34 Fairview Road, has been shrouded in controversy, particularly surrounding the mysterious wounds on his arm. Some argue the injuries were consistent with a violent struggle, suggesting he may have been attacked by a dog inside 34 Fairview. However, the prosecution claims these wounds were inflicted when Karen Read backed over John O'Keefe and her tail light was shattered on impact. The dispute over these wounds has only deepened the mystery surrounding John O'Keefe's death, leaving unanswered questions and fueling the legal battle as both sides try to piece together the truth and convince the jury what really happened to John O'Keefe that night.
Now, the prosecution presented a witness who testified in the first trial, but was much more prominent here so far in this retrial. Ian Whiffing. He was how would I describe it? He's an expert in digital extractions, phone evidence. He works for the company Cellbrite, which extracts stuff from the phones that prosecutions across the country use, around the world use. He has a very sophisticated English accent, which some argue goes to his credibility. I say it's just an accent. You have to listen to the content of what he's saying. But part of his testimony was about the Apple Health data that was extracted from John O'Keefe's phone. And on that phone, it recorded him going up 3 flights of stairs, or 3 climbs, they call it, on the Apple Health data. Take a listen to his explanation as to why it recorded these flight climbs.
Between 22 minutes and 14 seconds and 24 minutes and 37 seconds, we have 3 flight climb events that are aggregated into that time period. And again, the location data shows that the device was traveling in a vehicle at that time. So we have the first record at 22:17, a flight climb event was recorded. I've highlighted that was a red line, and that equates to the red line that shows underneath the timestamp where the location was, where the device was at that time. The second record is 22 minutes and 32 seconds, showed with a green line, which shows over here. And then finally, 24 minutes and 37 seconds after midnight, shows with an orange line down here outside 34 Fairview.
So what he's saying is that these Apple Health record flights climbed are recorded if you're driving in your car and I guess going up an incline. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Does Apple Health record flights climbed while driving? Does your Apple Health record the flights climbed when you're in the car driving? Still with us. Let's circle back. Catherine Loftus, Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, Wayne Dennison, John DePietro with us, and Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas as well. And Cody, you and I,
it does sound
again,
pretty weird.
Up to no good. Took a look at took a look at your Apple Health and whether or not it actually works, right?
Absolutely. Like you said, as we've done many a time this week, we did another little experiment just to make sure it was working. And this time we did it on a staircase in our hotel.
Oh, yeah. You know, we might reveal which hotel we're in. I'm not sure what's in the background here, but we won't. Anyway, let's take a look at what Cody and I did just to make sure that his Apple Health works. We've got a flight of steps. We've got Cody Thomas. We're going to check out and see if the Apple Health actually records going up and down. All right, let's check it out. Here we go.
So the health page want to get back there.
16 steps is supposed to record a flight, according to Apple Health data. Yeah, come on up.
How come Vinnie didn't want to be the one that went up and down the stairs?
Step at a time.
So I think if you do at least 16 steps, it should record one flight. And we'll check Cody's Apple Health data. Did it record?
We'll go to the show all health. Flights climbed. Show all data. Today's date, 11:01.
11:01.
One floor climbed.
Boom. So
it worked. It recorded.
Apple Health works.
Elevation is dead.
Okay, so we know his phone is working, right? So we took a look at the route that Ian Whiffen was talking about. Now let's put that map up on the screen. This is the one where he says on the left is Ian Whiffen's map, the 3 spots that showed the elevation. On the right is the route that Cody and I drove with his phone to see if it recorded 3 flight climbs. Let's take a look at what we did. Okay, so what we're going to do is retrace the route that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe took that night.
Yep.
Because inside the courtroom, Ian Whiffen, the expert, said on that drive down Oakdale to Cedar Crest Road is when the Apple Health data on John O'Keefe's phone recorded him going up 3 flights. Obviously, the defense says that's the stairs.
Yep.
And we've already seen that your Apple Health recorded you on the steps.
Absolutely. So now we have to see if this elevation going across these roads will do the same thing.
All right, so we're gonna get in the car, take the ride, and then check our Apple Health data.
All right, so we're starting this drive down Oakdale Road now, following the map that was presented in court.
Yeah, we are
Oh, hell, here we go.
following exactly what Ian Whiffen said, and we're very close to the area, he said, where the elevation begins, where we are. I'm driving right now, and seems sort of flat, could be a gradual increase.
Right, I don't see any hills. I mean, again, just because the hill isn't visible doesn't mean the hill is not there.
Right. So I feel like we're kind of going up right now, but I don't feel like I'm climbing 16 steps like you did
right
earlier. So.
Right. If it is an incline, it's a very slight one. Very slight.
Right. TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, we're live virtually every night. YouTube, hit the thumbs up button for me as well. And TikTok, if you want to watch this video with us, TikTok won't let me show it to you. So you have to come over to YouTube and watch it. But it's the Mystery Project. The Mystery Project right there. Come on over. Let's go.
Yeah, but he was very specific inside the courtroom. His testimony, he circled the parts on the map. That's what we're basing this drive on. Ian Whiffen's expert testimony that the drive to 34 Fairview is where John O'Keefe recorded 3 flights on his Apple Health. We'll see if it works. I mean, I feel like I'll be surprised if it does, but I've never checked my Apple Health before to see, what it records, what it doesn't record. So it'll be
especially not on a drive.
No.
So now we're coming up to this stop sign. We're taking a right on Cedar Crest Road, and eventually we're going to get down here and past Fairview on the left. But according to Whiffen, she went past Fairview, went up there, made a 3-point turn, then circled back, and then turned a right onto Fairview. So that's what we're about to do right now.
Exactly. So, and here we are. I don't think this is Fairview.
This is Kings Road.
This is Kings Road. Yeah, we've got one more to go. And then
two more.
And then we'll go around the curve, and do that K turn. Because that night, Karen Reed, John O'Keefe, they got a little lost and they did not see Fairview, so they went past it and then had to circle back to get to the road. And that was part of the communications that were going back and forth. And John O'Keefe, I think, was the one that was checking his phone for the directions.
So it'll be the next
spring. The next one should be Fairview.
Yes.
And I can see how you could miss it because all these streets kind of look the same, and if it's dark at night, you haven't been to the house before.
And there's not many street lights out here either. It's So coming up here on the left, this is Fairview. This is where 34 Fairview is, but we're going to go past it here real quick. That's Fairview on our left, right here.
Okay, so we pass it,
so
we'll go up just a little bit further, because this is another one of the inclines, is just past this curve when he comes back. Honestly, as I do the drive, I'll be absolutely shocked.
Right.
If it records 3 flights, because I don't feel like we've gone up, but maybe we have. So now we're going to do the turn.
A little turnaround right here.
And that'll take us to Fairview.
Coming back. Now coming from this way, Fairview will be on our right.
On our right. And I think this little part of Fairview was what he referenced in his testimony, was another elevation. And he was going off of maps that sort of told the story of the elevation. What's interesting is 2 cars at this intersection, just like John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were face to face with another car.
So now we're on Fairview.
Fairview. So
34 Fairview's right here on our right.
All right. So we'll just go past that. We don't want to bother them today, but let's go past that and we'll just find a place where we can pull over and we'll check our Apple Health data. Just find a safe place.
Yeah.
Wherever it is. We have time.
Pull it, turn in right here, get out of the way of the main road.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like a much better spot to stop.
Yeah, right here behind this sign, out of the way.
All right. We'll put it in park. And now the test. We're going to check the Apple Health data to see if it recorded any flights.
Ooh, check it. Let's
Cody,
see.
we know that your Apple Health works because you already recorded flights and stairs this morning. Let's see if it recorded anything
So
right
let's go to show all health data, flights climbed. We'll show all data on the flights climbed. Today's date, May 14th. Mine recorded nothing.
Nothing.
Because it's 11:02 is when we recorded it up to 16 steps earlier.
Right. Let me check mine. Let me go on my Apple Health and see if I recorded anything. I'll go back, show all data. Today's May 14th. May 14th, 8:42. No, that was only, I climbed the stairs this morning at 8:42. So.
No recording on either of our phones.
Right. So Apple Health recorded absolutely nothing on this drive. So, you know, I don't know how to explain that other than how on earth did Ian Whiffing come to that conclusion? Did he actually drive?
And you have to think, Vinny, how's a juror going to take this information?
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting. Of course, going up real steps, it recorded something for me this morning, but on this drive, like we talked about, it was kind of flat.
Nothing. Absolutely
nothing.
All right. Hey, Cody, just one
That's pretty crazy, y'all.
more time. Like, did you feel like you were driving up a hill at any point?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, you were in the car with me. You saw how flat it was. But as I said, you know, sometimes you can't really see the hill. Like, we've been on bicycles. Sometimes your thighs start burning a little bit more than usual just because you're going up a hill that you can't see. But on that drive, not at all.
Not at all. All right. Let's bring back John, what happened here?
I don't know, but everybody has a different type of device. Maybe he had a different type of
Blew
device.
it all up.
I saw that it worked on the
Damn
stairs, and that was a good demonstration. I think it's tough, though, because of everyone has a different device and also maybe different type of vehicle. I agree. That part of it doesn't seem to make sense, but the time is still on the side of the prosecution because when the climbing was going on, he would have been in the vehicle traveling over to Fairview.
Does anyone have an explanation? Does anyone?
No, I mean, it's one of those things that's brought up. That's, you know, one of the, it's a question for the jury. I think that the testimony from Mr. Whiffen was that when he drove the route, he did it twice, and one of them the phone was stagnant, like on a charger, and the other one was if he was holding it. So he testified that if John O'Keefe was holding it in his hand, that there was a different result. It came up with the stairs. So
did anyone? If we rewind the tape, I was holding my cell phone in my hand in the back seat. Cody was driving, so his was in the lockdown, and that's why we checked both of them.
And I think it goes to, you know, again, this question of experts. I know
I've never seen
recreation that you guys.
I've never seen a phone say that you went up a flight of stairs while you were driving.
Said yesterday in Fairview when you came out, and then there was no steps recorded when you went down to the basement, and then when you were
16 is the magic number.
Yeah, so you know,
16 is the magic number.
It sort of brings into question again that this idea that the data is the data. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
What's going on?
Well, the phone.
I feel like Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with the Apple Health data?
Well, Apple tells you that in order to do that, they use both the altimeter and the accelerometer. And they use some sort of algorithm to tie them together. And it's not supposed to go off and record a flight of stairs if you're in the car.
I wonder if the defense is going to use that clip for part of their case.
No, I'm speechless because, you know, he was very specific about what he did and where he drove. And
because he was saying that if it bounces in your pocket, something to that, I'm paraphrasing, but that it could detect.
That it's, That's like adding an extra little thing to the...
The question really goes to...
Does that?
I don't think we hit any speed bumps on that drive.
Well, who would do that? Like, if you, like, I felt like I wanted to be more like John O'Keefe. Like, if he has the Waze on here and he's telling Karen where to go, he's got it in his hand. That's what I'm doing as I'm talking to Cody. I got it in my hand and I have it in this hand, and I'm going back and forth. And I'm Italian. I speak with my hands. I can't talk without moving my hands. Okay, let's do this. We've got this live studio audience. They are ready. They are locked. They are loaded. Questions and comments when we come back.
Oh, hell. Well, I guess they started asking some questions and stuff, but y'all, let me know what you think. That is pretty crazy. I mean, it didn't record any of that stuff for them, at least. I've never heard that before. Y'all let me know what you think. YouTube, y'all be safe. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And TikTok.